Hello crafters! Today we're going to be looking at the DIY faux frosting frame kit. We're going to take a look at all the different materials included in the kit, talk about some techniques, and get you ready to craft your own faux frosting frame. Before we get started, we're going to take a look at the materials included in the DIY kit. First is this little orange buffing square. This is a little sandpaper square, and it's perfect for kind of buffing the edges of the wood. We also have 3 separate piping tips. These are metal reusable piping tips, and then the plastic piping coupler. We also have a baggie of faux sprinkles, some acrylic white paint, some fake cherries, a paintbrush, and then the piping bags themselves. To the far left, you'll see a piping bag that already has faux frosting in it, and then an empty one. The empty one is what we're going to put the coupler in. The plastic coupler comes apart. It's 2 pieces. Take the inner piece, which is the bigger one, and drop it in the bottom of the bag. Shimmy it all the way down. And then you're going to take the other piece to the coupler and you're going to screw it on. So this is going to be the bag is in between the 2 pieces of the coupler. This is how you are able to swap your piping tips without having to start a new piping bag. Now that we've got our bag prepped, we're going to prep the wood of the frame. Since this is raw wood, it does need a little bit of a buff just to make sure there's no sharp edges or little loose pieces. You want to just kind of smooth it out as best as you can. Now that everything is all buffed and smooth, you can paint your frame. There will be some pieces of the frame that will show through when you do the frosting, so it's nice to have a white solid background behind it. But if there's another color you want to paint your frame, or if you want to leave the wood exposed, you can totally do that too. You do want to make sure that your paint is completely dry before you start with the next steps. Now that our frame is painted, it's dried, we have our piping bag prepped, we're going to go ahead and get started. You're going to take the bag that has the piping tip coupler attached, and you're going to cut the tip of the plastic off like this. Then you're going to take the bag that has the frosting in it and you're going to put it inside of the other bag. You'll notice that the tip of the bag with frosting is going to be sticking out the bottom of the coupler. Now that we have all that ready, we're going to add on our piping tip. So you're going to undo your coupler again, and you're going to grab one of the 3 tips that's included in your kit. A closed star, an open star, and a rosette. This is the open star tip, the rose tip, and the closed star. Now, how you want to decorate your frame is entirely up to you. I like starting with the rose tip to do a little ruffle on the edge. So you can see I'm putting the tip back in there, it's attached with a coupler, and now I'm going to actually cut the frosting bag. I'm snipping off the tip of the bag, and then I'm going to take the whole thing and put it back in our other bag. I'm going to squeeze it as tight as I can around the top, because I want as much pressure as I can. That'll help when I'm actually putting the frosting down. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And you'll see it starts to come through the piping tip. Just to clarify here, I am not a pastry chef. I do not know how to do this the real professional way. This is me doing this for the love of the craft. It's going to take you some time to get the hang of how to squeeze the bag, how to move it. You can definitely do some tests with a piece of paper. You can see that little blob in the middle is where I did a little test run. You'll have to kind of figure out how you want to do pressure. Right here, you can see that it didn't attach. There is a certain amount of pressure you have to push down on the frame to make sure that it connects fully with the frame, or else it won't stick. It takes some trial and error. You'll figure it out. Here's another spot. Oop, oh, nope. Yep, you can see I'm pulling that all off because it didn't adhere. The good thing is you can always undo the end of the piping bag and scoop in any bits that didn't quite stick, didn't quite attach right. You can reuse it. It's not wasted. So this is a sped up going through doing some some little wiggles, and I do the outside and the inside because again we're layering, so there's going to be stuff on top of this, but I want these little squiggles on the outside. As you can see, they're along the rim, both on the inner and the outer end of the frame. Perfect. So now I'm going to switch my piping tip. I'm going to move these little globs out of the way. So now that that base layer is down with my ruffle, I'm going to switch piping tips to my closed tip. I'm putting the tip in there, screwing it back on, and now I'm going to make some little rosettes. It's important to keep steady pressure, and my hand will be out of the way in a second and you'll be able to see it better, but I'm just doing little swirls. Again, test these a couple times on some paper so you kind of get the idea of how the little swirl goes. Again, I'm not a professional pastry chef. This is me teaching myself how to do this after watching videos like this. So you'll have to kind of give it a little bit of trial and error, and you'll get the hang of it, and then you'll feel like you're a professional and you can make a cake or a million more frames. The kit does come with 3 different piping tips, but in this example I've only used 2. I just wanted to keep it simple for the purposes of this video. Now that I'm done with the piping, I'm going to add my sprinkles. This next step is important to do pretty quickly after you finish with the frosting because the sprinkles will only adhere if the frosting is still damp. So just kind of tap on as much or as little as you want to put on there, and we'll kind of just cover the whole exterior of the frame with some sprinkles. Now that our sprinkles are on, we can add our cherries. I'm keeping it with a pretty classic style here, but you can put them wherever you'd like. And that is your faux frosting cake frame. Let this dry for about 48 hours and it should be all set and ready to go. It'll be hard to the touch. Be sure to rinse off your piping couplers and your piping tips for your next project. Thanks so much for watching this tutorial. Come hang out with us on Instagram at Craft Shack Beaverton.